Well, here we are for a good cup of coffee, not coffee, but this is coffee with none other than Anton Swanepoel this morning. And what is this all about? Well, in 2004, we have heard and learned and implemented something called FASE, and that has been the primary legislation that have been shaping the financial services profession and industry in South Africa specifically. And we've come accustomed to this. We've come a long way. We've made strides ahead. And now there's this new legislation looming, and its aim, I don't know. I will have to talk to Anton about that. And but this is going to have an impact. And I feel like from the conversations I've been having that people are under the impression that this only applies to big financial institutions, but it's not. It has an impact on you and me. I'm going to talk about that with Anton today. But before I do, let's get the show started. This is Propulsion, the podcast for forward-thinking and driven and ambitious financial planning professionals. It is the catalyst to the exponential growth of your financial planning practice, your business, or your franchise. This is where professionals come in order to learn about the latest technology, to learn about best practice when it comes to running and managing their business, as well as marketing, sales, relationship building, the best and most valuable interviews with local and international guests, and a whole host of other things. Without any further ado, here is your host, Francois du Toit. Anton, warm welcome finally to Propulsion Live.
It's my pleasure being on this platform. Francois, you've just created a fantastic platform for people to engage, and I must compliment you. It's a real privilege to be on the same stage with Lelani, and a special shout out to David Kopp, who's joined us. I mean, he's made such an impact in the industry as well. So, yes, it's a pleasure. I can't wait to get into this discussion.
Absolutely, Anton, but thank you very much for your time. I know you're an early bird, you get up early, so I'm not going to apologize for making you get up early. You know, for many guests, I must go, I'm sorry, it's 7 o'clock, I'm really sorry. But for you, I know you've been busy already. So thank you for making the time. For those of you that may not know Anton, if that's even possible, he's a practice management and compliance coach at Trusted Advisors. A trusted advisor, and he's obviously written several books on compliance. So from way back when FASE came in, etc., there's that, and on leadership, and there's a whole host of things that he's written on. So he's, in my opinion, a household name in our profession, and really privileged to be able to chat to you this morning, Anton. So today is obviously all about Kofi, but we'll see where the conversation goes as well, because I mean you've been up to some interesting things as well, and I think also I want to touch on a bit of practice management, etc., because it's so valuable, and it seems like practice management is really becoming a topic now that people are taking seriously finally, because it feels to me like we've been talking about that for so long, but nobody really thinks of themselves, specifically the smaller ones, as a business owner and as running a business, building a business. So hopefully we'll have time to get into that. But let's start off with Kofi. And I hope I'm even pronouncing the abbreviation or the acronym correctly. But what is it, Anton?
Kofi stands for, this industry of ours is so full of acronyms, but this is an appropriate one because Kofi stands for the Conduct of Financial Institutions Bill. As it's currently known, we know that it's set to become an act. And maybe just for practical purposes, let me explain the difference between the bill and the act and how it works, when it's going to come into effect. But in short, it is all about market conduct legislation that governs. If you take FASE and you put it on steroids, that's basically what Kofi is going to be. FASE is going to get sucked into the whole Kofi legislation. But in a nutshell, Kofi is market conduct legislation, and it governs the conduct of financial advisors and other institutions when they deal with clients. If you look at the first page, the objective of Kofi is summarized in bullet points on the first page of Kofi. It's really about conduct, market conduct, treating customers fairly, establishing trust and confidence in the financial sector, and also to ensure sustainable competition. Now, we need to talk about that, because if some of the COFI initiatives is not brought into proportion, what I mean by that is we've got small advisories, businesses, medium-sized and large. So currently, there's not much that differentiates what we see in our conversations and what the FSCA is doing with the conduct of business return, the Omni CBR report, etc. There are some concerns, but let me stick to your question. What is COFI? It is phase on steroids, and it's going to involve all financial institutions, banks, insurers, investment companies, etc. So it creates a level playing field from a treating customers fairly perspective.
And will also impact FSPs, like your normal IFA, FSP, bank, well, all the FSPs, doesn't matter, but it's not only the product houses that will be influenced or impacted by this. Am I right that it will also be the financial advisor in practice will definitely also be impacted by this?
There's no question about it. We've seen from phase to COFI. COFI has really given a facelift to the Phase Act. We see that some subtle changes are being made in COFI to lift the accountability of all financial institutions. And let me just start by saying, before we go into the FSP discussion, yes, my only claim to fame is around my involvement and passion for the small, medium-sized. The big players really almost take care of themselves, but my passion lies to enable your small to medium-sized FSP to be COFI ready and to make those subtle changes to align themselves with future market conduct. So I don't profess to be an expert on all financial institutions. I mean, this is such a wide field. This conversation, if that's fine with you, Francois, needs to be directed to our audience, how it's going to impact the representative. But more importantly, I think the direction needs to be taken by the key individuals of our small and medium-sized firms.
And I honestly, Anton, that's where you and I are so aligned, because that is what it is all about. I've had, and I think I only get really, it's actually amazing, like after all these years in this, that only recently did it really jump out at me just how unfair the current, and I'm going to say that, how unfair the current legislation and regulation is towards the smaller IFA and the smaller FSP, because they have to comply at the same level as the big guys. You have the same manuals, the same processes, the same and you've got to prove everything, but yet you don't have the expertise, you don't have the resources. Like it's ludicrous, in my opinion. So I guess one of the big questions is, I mean, as you're now saying, there isn't much proof at the moment or evidence that there will be much of a differentiation between how my business, for example, if I were to practice, have to comply versus one of the big FSPs. So did I get that right?
Francois, I think you've hit the nail on the head. But fortunately, organizations such as the Financial Planning Institute and the FIA and SAIFA, we definitely need to collaborate to highlight to the FSCA the proportionality. It was actually an intention by the FSCA to apply the legislation to differentiate between small, medium, and large. But we haven't seen enough of that yet. You know, just to put some of the content into perspective, when you take the phase legislation, give and take 160 odd pages of phase code of conduct, fit and proper requirements. COFI is read with the Financial Sector Regulation Act, FSR Act. Together, it constitutes about 900 pages of legislation. So just from a complexity of the voluminous nature of market conduct legislation. 3 different things: the FSR Act, the COFI Act, and then practice standards that will be issued by the FSCA. With my conversations, or during those conversations with the FSCA, that is the rough estimate of quantity of papers and documents that we need to now. The industry hasn't even come to grips with the phase legislation in total. And how are we going to manage the small practice? How are they going to manage with 900 pages of legislation? So this calls for industry participation in discussions. I'm concerned when the FSCA published the comments, they wanted comments on the Omni CBR, the conduct of business return. Very few people had the time to actually do a thorough investigation and comment. So the FIA and the FPI and organizations like CIFA really need to support the small to medium-sized businesses in engaging with the FSCA. So I think just the point on complexity, voluminous nature of legislation, that has been made. But I think we need to discuss what the small FSPs and medium-sized FSPs should be doing in anticipation of legislation, because it's not all loom and doom, or I might have mixed it up. But the bottom line is there are some strategies that FSPs can implement right now in anticipation for this legislation, to keep it real, to keep it simple, and to make it practical. So I'm hoping that the rest of the few minutes that remain, we can drill into what are the practical implications, what should key individuals be focusing on in anticipation of this legislation, because as I alluded to, it's currently a bill. Gareth Stokes wrote a brilliant article in FA News with his interview with Hanli Hutton, who is currently the senior manager responsible for COFI at the FSCA. And she was quoted by saying that this piece of legislation is almost ready to be presented to Parliament. And when it's accepted by Parliament, it will be promulgated, which means that there's going to be a promulgation date where the act, it's actually promulgation means it's an announcement of an act being accepted, becoming law. But then, like the Phase Act, it is taken about 2 years for the Phase Act to become effective. So COFI is at the verge of being presented to Parliament and approved by them, which then makes it an act. And then we are going to have maybe 18 months or 2 years to, who knows how long we will have to actually be ready. My message today, Francois, there are things that we can do now that won't only benefit FSPs under COFI, it will even give our current practice management and compliance processes a facelift under phase. So having a look at what COFI is saying, they've actually made more official some of the principles that are still fairly vague in phase. They've actually given it a facelift, and it's more clear exactly what the regulator is going to want.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get into what should we be doing, because that is what this is all about. So we always want to leave people with what do we do, and if there's, I think one big message that's sort of popping up for me right as I'm standing here is don't sit and wait for this. Get involved, and I don't know if it's too late to get involved, but you have to be involved. And if you're not involved in sort of pushing back against some of these things, then because I think often we think let's leave it to the big guys and the professional bodies and those kind of things to really go drive this, and then we're not happy with the outcome, but we never really put our hands up and gave our input to this. And I know, like the FPI, I've been in several meetings and sessions and things where they ask, please give us feedback so that we can take that feedback to the regulator, etc. So very important that we get involved. But also I love what you're saying around there's things that we should be doing from how I like to put it is just from running a proper business point of view. Like forget it. I always say it's so sad that we need regulation and legislation and things to sort of try and force us to do the right thing, to sort of try and force us to build good businesses, etc. We should just be doing that anyway. So that's what I'm keen to get into. But there's one question I want to ask you before we go down that road, Anton. Is COFI going to replace all the other legislations and become like almost a one ring to rule them all?
The short answer is yes. That is the intention, and certainly that's going to be the impact of COFI that it's going to have on financial services providers. So financial advisors and intermediaries, COFI is going to replace the FASE Act. There's going to be some new terminology. For example, some subtle changes. The key person, a key individual, is going to become a key person. Representatives, the definition is going to stay the same. Complaint, the definition is changing. It's given a steroid injection under the FSR Act. So we will see that COFI and the FSR is now going to become the prominent legislation, fully replacing FASE. So, but we'll see if we go into the practicalities that there are some of the building blocks that will remain in place. And it's important to identify what aspects in a practice is never going to change. And for us to use that as a common point of departure, we should then be mapping whatever happens in legislation to the fundamental building blocks in your client engagement process and in the business. Because from a best practice point of view, a lot of that, and I've got a slide just now that I'd like to show to demonstrate which are the aspects in any FSP business that has always, prior to FASE, during FASE, and post-FASE, from a best practice point of view, nothing has changed. It is now just we are going to need some clever interpretation. If we take COFI, we measure of what it meant in FASE, and we decide, is that materially different? And some of these aspects are materially different. And that's really the practical roadmap to move from FASE to COFI. And it's going to take time, but there are certain elements in the current COFI bill that is so prominent and easy to identify how it's going to remain the same in principle with a bit of a cosmetic change.
Yes. Anton, so let's dive right into that conversation around, let's start off with those, call them foundational building blocks, the things that you feel like that's our point of departure. Like, where do we start? If you're a key individual, key person, owner of that FSP, what are some of the first things that you need to consider right now?
Right. Let me share my screen. Francois, I'm going to take your lead. If you can see that slide.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So this is a snapshot, a bird's eye view of every single FSP in the world, never mind South Africa. If we look at the left-hand side, there are 10 steps of client engagement. Let me first mention that the 6 steps of financial planning is included in the 10 steps. There's a material difference between the 6-step process of financial planning and the 10-step process of client engagement. Bear in mind that the FPI assumes that you already have a client and you are engaging with the client. The 10-step process of professional client engagement starts with prospecting. Everybody in this group who has run a practice will know that when you start out, if you don't have names and telephone numbers, contact details of potential clients, you're dead before you even started. So prospecting is specifically referred to in COFI. So it recognizes that every single aspect from prospecting, setting up appointments, your first meeting with a client where you professionally introduce yourself, gathering of information, agreeing on the services, etc. There you will recognize steps 1 and 2 of the 6-step process. Gather information, but the first step in the 6-step process is establishing the professional relationship. So I must make this point. This is from a practice management point of view. It does not negate the 6-step process of financial planning. That must be very clear. So your client engagement, I have tested these 10 steps with thousands of advisors since 2010, when we were preparing for RE exams, etc., in every workshop. And it would be very interesting to hear the comments if the delegates are willing to comment whether they can identify with this process. Name and a number, prospecting, phoning, contacting that client for a potential meeting, first meeting, gathering info, agreeing on what service the client wants. Is it quotes? Is it estate plan? Whatever. Is it a retirement plan? And then taking that information of the client, conducting an analysis, preparing that in a written report, presenting it to a client, and then on agreement, there's paperwork to be done and implementation. So I yet have to find an advisor who disagrees that holistically, this is how they've built their practice over the years. And then, of course, the more successful you are here, the more income and revenue you generate, and that revenue goes into the business. But we know that everybody needs people in the business to be successful. You need training, CPD, product specific, whatever training is required, CPD specifically for the experienced guys. Every business needs an infrastructure, process, systems, marketing, risk management and compliance, administration, the way you remunerate your staff, your people inside that business, and then, of course, your annual financials. Colleagues, I want to make this statement, and I've tested it with many institutions. I've tested it with the FIA. I've tested it with David Kopp and Lelani and the FSCA, and I've asked them, please highlight whether you can find any flaws in these building blocks. And to date, I have not found anybody who had a material disagreement as far as that is concerned. So hopefully that picture can act and serve as a common point of reference, because every one of those steps and those building blocks have got two aspects to them: best practice and compliance. Best practice and compliance are inseparable. So therefore, when the Act changes, we know what the FASE Act said about client engagement. We now need to test it against the practice standards that will be issued by the FSCA. And in my view, I've tested it with a number of reputable individuals in the industry. My view is that the General Code of Conduct have been deliberated. A lot of time and energy have been put into putting the Code of Conduct into place. Some amendments have been made based on retail distribution review and deliberations with industry. My view is that 95% of the General Code of Conduct will be adopted as is, with maybe a 5% cosmetic change. So from the 10-step process point of view, I foresee very little amendments and a change, because you will know that from 2004, all the changes and the things that have never changed, that's a great indicator of what we can expect in terms of the COFI practice standards that are currently being rewritten. But there are still gaps. Francois, I have the privilege of engaging with many small to medium-sized FSPs over the years. And even in the last 6 months, I must have been involved with 10 prominent FSPs. And to this day, I still see gaps this wide in terms of recording and what are recorded. If you ask 10 guys what is a record of advice, you'll get 10 different opinions of what is a record of advice. So we need, if we take those building blocks and we use that as our common point of reference, we can show the FSCA how overregulated we are. And then we can start negotiating with them to say, listen, if you add the Omni CBR report and you want small FSPs to submit that report on a quarterly basis, I mean, just that the comprehensive nature of that report, Francois, it took me 4.5 days to first understand what the Omni CBR is all about, to listen to the YouTube videos, to attend the workshops, and then to write a 20-odd page report to the FSCA to say, if this is what I want to do for the small, it's going to kill the small FSP. Obviously, I wrote that in a very respectful manner. The worst thing we can do is to express our concerns in an emotional way. But we need to, as you pointed out, we need to get involved as FSPs. We need to give our input, and that is how we can collectively impact the FSCA on this legislation. I want to summarize what I've just said. Firstly, COFI is a fact. It's a done deal. It is coming. They have spent too much resources, deliberations, responses, industry input to backtrack. So you will see phase moving into COFI. It's just a matter of time. In the next few months, that is expected to be promulgated. Now, to wait until then, if you think back from a phase point of view, how many FSPs were truly ready when phase became effective? Let me tell you, I think from memory, if 5% of FSPs were truly ready for phase, it's a lot. We've seen that from the Ombud determinations, etc., that these guys, many of them were unprepared. My message is, let's get ahead of the game. Let's now, over December, just try to get in a position for you to analyze, to understand the basics of COFI, and to interrogate using my matrix, my sketch. I'll send it to you afterwards. You're welcome to send it out. I've also written a publication called The 10-Step Process of Professional Client Engagement, which is available as a PDF, which I will send to you as well. You are most welcome to distribute that to everybody, but I think every key individual over the December period, early Jan, when they come back, they must use those cornerstones that I've highlighted on that one slide and truly investigate. Use the 10-step process to check the current compliance, the best practice principles. It's about 120 pages, give or take, but it's an easy read. It's a simple read. Much of that is going to be old news. But if I was a KI on my own FSP as a small business owner or the leader of a franchise or a medium-sized business, I will come prepared January just with a reassessment of my business using those cornerstones.
Yeah, I mean, that is a lot. And I can see in the comments that I think if there's one thing that I want to sort of relay as part of this, Anton, is that don't get overwhelmed by this. I know it's overwhelming, specifically if you're now really hearing this, like I'm hearing most of this for the first time in detail, because I don't usually focus on regulation and compliance that much. I'm more on the other end. And this is why this is so valuable. And I can get why people would feel overwhelmed and get scared and thinking, like I see Mel says she wants to sell her FSP, she's done. I know she's just joking because she loves this too much. But guys, ladies and gents, like there's no reason to get scared. There's no reason to get overwhelmed. If you're going to sit back and wait for this to just happen to you, then probably you have reason to be scared. But if you're proactive, if you make sure that you know what's coming, what's going on, and I can promise you this, right? You've already built a great business. You wouldn't be in business today if you haven't built a good business, right? Can we do it better? Yes, we all can do it better. And I guess that's where it lies. There's things that we will have to stop doing. There's things that we will have to start doing. There's things that we will have to implement that we maybe not implementing yet. But that is so, so, so important. And on that note, so we've got 5 minutes left or 4 minutes left, Anton. So the question is then, if that's the message, like what are the... Maybe just what is something that we may have to think about stopping to do or stop doing, and what are something that maybe we will have to consider implementing now on the back of what we know at this point in time. I mean, it might be different, guys. This isn't advice to go and do in your business, right? You've got to go and apply your mind to your own business. But is there something that you think we should stop doing, and then something that we would have to consider starting or start doing? I don't know, my English doesn't sound right this morning, but you get it.
Well, join the club, Francois. I get lost sometimes in my excitement.
Sorry, Anton, it's a bad day. It's no power, no English. But yeah.
Well, Francois, just one or two things that come to mind. I'm afraid to say I've got absolutely nothing against compliance officers in general. They are needed. You can't overextend yourself and take responsibility for all that. But here is a point of criticism that I have on compliance officers in general. It's a concern. This whole area of record of advice. There is such a lot of inconsistency when we deal with monitoring and what is a record of advice and not. So we are getting compliance that drives they drive a lot of businesses. And it's time for key individuals to take full ownership and direct compliance. If compliance starts wagging the dog, if Kofi becomes something, and I've got a beautiful cartoon sketch where the FSCA has got this little dog by the tail, and that's the FSP, and wagging them around. The ripple effect of that is compliance starts driving our business. And that is one of the fundamental flaws that will kill this industry. I am suggesting that there are a few fundamentals that key individuals need to take ownership of. Get clarity in their mind as to, in the 10-step process, how are we doing with POPIA? Because we know that prospecting has got the Protection of Personal Information Act. So I have mapped each one of those 10 steps with the prominent legislation that applies. I think it's going to be helpful for key individuals to get a full picture of that. And maybe in one of the future sessions, maybe early next year, we can dedicate some time on really drilling into the detail to say, okay, these are your 10 steps. This is what the FACE Act and the Code of Conduct and POPIA and FICA demanded. And this is how it's going to work under Kofi, and where the guys need to take a facelift. I'm calling on KIs to take a more prominent role in deciding what they allow compliance to dictate to them and where to stand their ground. You can only, as I said, compliance and practice management are inseparable. You can't have the one without the other. Before you go into automation, you must make sure that you're very clear in your mind as to what a record of advice is, for example. And there's still confusion around even that term.
Yeah. Anton, thank you. So you can connect with Anton. I see there's people asking for your number and all sorts of stuff. guys, LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn. Anton is on LinkedIn. He connects with love. So go and connect with him on LinkedIn. There's the website on the screen as well. So trustedadvisor.co.za. You can easily get hold of Anton there. The link is also down in the description. Anton will send me the PDF and everything. I will link it up and we can send it out, all of that. But Anton, just from my side, I think this is just the start of the conversation. Probably this conversation we should have had a long time ago here, specifically for our audience as well. But it is something that we can't sit back and wait to just come, even though it's looming and it's imminent and all of those good. It sounds almost like a D-Day kind of movie, which I don't think it has to be, and it shouldn't be seen that way. Again, most of the success that we have in our businesses comes from our mindset about our business. Too many businesses have survived all sorts of changes and regulations and legislations, and this isn't just a South African thing, right? There's new legislation being promulgated all over the world in our industry, in our profession. So it is just, do we understand the rules of the game? How do we tackle it? What is our mindset around it? And there are many different options and strategies available to you. And I think we should keep having this conversation and put our minds together, because where you have two or more minds together, there's this, sort of super brain that develops, and we can definitely get to better answers than sitting alone in your office somewhere and trying to figure this out. So Anton, from my side, just a massive thank you for your time. I think you and I need to go have a breakfast. I want to talk to you some more, and there's other stuff on my mind that I think you and I can talk about. But just from my side and from our community and our audience, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. We wish you well, and we hope to see you talking somewhere soon again.
Thank you very much, Francois. It was a pleasure being here.
Good stuff. Any last words? Like, there's still a minute. Like, anything you want to leave us with?
Francois, if there are desperate guys that just want to have a 10-minute conversation or whatever and test anything, I mean, my personal email address is anton@antonswanepoel.co.za. It's a standard grade one, anton@antonswanepoel.co.za. You can message me. I have put together some packages of doing reviews of practices. It's not intended to be in competition with compliance officers. It's just there to give a practice management and a compliance overview. And we structure payment according to your cash flow. I'm very flexible around that. So if I was allowed a marketing opportunity, I just took it. So thank you very much, Francois.
Of course, Anton. 100%. But thank you very much, and thank you for everything you do for the profession. It's been a long time that you've been doing this. So thank you very much, and I'll chat to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. Our guest next week, as I said earlier, is Julie Anley from Beeswax, and really excited to get into the compliance discussion with her specifically, but not about how we do compliance, etc. It's more the why, and shifting our minds from, it's a tick box, it's a frustration, it's in the way, to really understand the deeper and much further impact of that. She's a phenomenal person, and really looking forward to chatting to her next week. So we'll be back, same time, hopefully with power and English. But we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Keep safe, enjoy the weekend, be blessed and prosper, and remember to continue to raise that bar. Thank you. Love you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. Remember to check out the live show, Propulsion Live, on YouTube every Friday at 7 a.m. South African time. You can find it at www.propulsion.co.za/live. That's propulsion.co.za/live. And please remember to subscribe, share with your colleagues, your friends, and anyone who may find value like you did in this podcast. Once again, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode.